Hello and greetings from Cologne in Germany. Thank you for inviting me to speak at this press conference. My name is Siegfried Rupprecht. I am the director of Rupprecht Consult, an independent research and consultancy company based in Cologne in Germany. For 25 years, our international team of experts has been working on sustainable air mobility in Europe and worldwide. I am most grateful to Mr. Machida and his Research Institute for Local Public Transport for initiating and coordinating the translation of the Guidelines for Sustainable Air Mobility Plans. Thanks also go to Professor Utsunomiya and Dr. Shibayama for the scientific coordination, as well as to all the experts that were involved in the translation and in the production of the book which is now being presented. Allow me to briefly introduce this new planning concept. Why did we need SUMP guidelines when we started 15 years ago? Let me explain our starting point. Most people in Europe, over 70%, live in cities. Our cities are the powerhouses of our economy, the center of our cultural and social life. But this comes at the price of multiple problems: congestion, air quality issues, safety, energy waste, social inclusion, to mention just a few of those challenges. Our problem was, and still is, how can we bring such different, contradicting demands together when we are planning the future of our cities, knowing also that cities lack the capacity but also the financial means to solve these problems for good. The problems of cities are massive. On a global scale, cities consume 65% of the world's energy, and they produce 70% of the world's carbon emissions. So there was and there is a strong need for a step change in how we plan our policies. Let me mention a few examples for this required change of perspective. As transport planners, we felt we should focus more on quality of life, not only on increasing the traffic flow capacity in a city. We should consider the overall mobility within a metropolitan area, not concentrate on optimizing one mode or one transport system in isolation. Transport should also work beyond our administrative boundaries. We should plan more for the needs of people, and building roads, bridges, and infrastructure and managing vehicle traffic is not enough. So this was how we started. So what did we do? How were the SUMP guidelines developed? With support of the European Commission, my colleagues and I brought together planners and decision makers from all over Europe to identify best planning practices. We organized many workshops, conducted interviews, surveys, discussions at conferences, and so on. And the result was the first version of the SUMP guidelines in 2013. This was a great success, and many cities of varying sizes and contexts used our concept as their guidance. And in the following years, the European Commission funded many projects and other initiatives. They recognized SUMP in their policy documents. Also numerous others, universities, government organizations, NGOs, endorsed and supported the concept of SUMP. So only a few years later, so much know-how and practical experience had been gathered that it was already time for an improved second version of the SUMP guidelines. And again, for 1 year, we worked in strong consultation with stakeholders and practitioners to produce the document that has now also been translated into Japanese. What is a Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan, or SUMP, or some people say SUMP? All three versions are correct. The aim of SUMP is better accessibility and quality of life. It is based on clear principles. For example, The plan must cover the entire functional urban area, not only the city in its administrative boundaries. It is important to have good cooperation of the different institutions on the different levels of government and so on. Cities and stakeholders must be involved as a guarantee for success. There must be a good assessment of current and future performance in order to have many facts to make decisions for the plan content. There must be a long-term vision for which the people in the planning area must be consulted. The leading question must be, in what city do I want my children to live? Of course, we must look at all transport modes, including walking, cycling, shared and collective mobility, and even giving them preference. We must have monitoring and evaluation, and we must have a good quality assurance system. So these are the basic criteria for SUMP. How is it applied in practice today? This concept has been tested in over 1,000 cities and metropolitan areas in different contexts throughout Europe and worldwide. But SUMP is more than these guidelines. SUMP has many knowledge resources like e-learning, knowledge exchange platforms, conferences, mostly for free, available in many languages. There are 28 complementary guidance documents on very specific topics. And finally, we have some promotion material to be used in campaigns. I'm proud to say that SUMP is taken over by cities and governments worldwide. For example, we are working with ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, on a project for adding SUMP to adapting SUMP to metropolitan regions in several of the member states. Similar work we're doing in Latin America and Eastern and Southeastern Europe. And it is promoted by international development organizations like the World Bank, European Investment Bank, and other major banks who support the application of SUMPs worldwide. Why is the recognition of SUMP so high? In my view, this is because planners and policymakers agree that SUMP can make a significant contribution to solving key mobility problems, but also to reducing global greenhouse gas emissions and in creating more livable cities. Bankers and infrastructure financiers believe that an SUMP is a plan with a strong factual basis, with wide support and with cost-effective measures, whose success can be assessed against objective criteria. Non-government organizations and other local stakeholders welcome the opportunity to participate in all phases of the plan development. And finally, citizens are happy to be heard, and they ensure that real problems are addressed. In consequence, they accept more willingly restrictive measures as they understand the reasons behind them. My personal view is that the concept of sustainable mobility plans should be seen as part of a change process. The transformation to an inclusive, sustainable, low-carbon future for our cities. So for me, SUMP is a way of organizing the long-term change towards a better future for our children and grandchildren. What is the future of SUMP in Europe? The European Union is soon expected to make SUMP the cornerstone of their mobility policy. They expect this planning concept to contribute to achieving high-level policy goals of Europe, including safe, accessible, smart, resilient, and carbon-free cities by 2050. I expect the EU to make SUMP obligatory in all cities above 100,000 inhabitants by the end of this year. And every country in the European Union will set up their own specific support mechanisms for their cities. These are just some examples of the momentum that this planning concept has in Europe. Let me close my short presentation. SUMP is about to become a global reference and a worldwide good practice for mobility planning in cities and metropolitan areas. I am very happy about the interest in Japan in our work. If planners in your country decide to take inspiration from our work here in Europe and elsewhere, we are very willing to support you and to share our know-how with you. Of course, it takes many stakeholders to make this a success in any country. So government institutions on all levels, transport agency, professional associations, universities, NGOs, and a wide range of local stakeholders must work together. And this is happening in many cities right now. Thank you for your attention. I wish you all the best for sharing great ideas, and I look forward to hearing about the first SUMP success stories from Japan. Thank you.